Welcome to Truth Be Told About Going Wild. I'm your host, Robert Hensley, and this is the podcast inspired by the principles of personal rewilding. Now, if you visited my website over the past few weeks, www.rhnaturereconnect.com, and you've had a look at personal rewilding, right? This is the practice that I teach. You probably noticed that I've talked about or mentioned elemental meditation or elemental sound baths and meditation. And you might be wondering what that is. Well, very simply, elemental meditation is a meditation that really honors our connection to the natural world. It is a meditation that forces us to think about our relationship to the cardinal elements, earth, air, fire, and water. And the reason that those are called cardinal elements is because each element aligns with a cardinal direction. So fire to the north, earth to the south, air to the east, and water to the west. And the reason that we want to connect with each of those elements is because they are fundamental to our being and to, again, our connection to the natural world. So I'm just going to kind of walk through a meditation with you and how you might want to put this into practice, if you want to put this into practice. So if you're in a safe place, right, you're not driving, you're at home, you're in your office, you're somewhere where it's quiet and you can kind of close your eyes for a few minutes and just listen. Please do so. If you're driving or doing something that requires a lot of focus, pause this, come back to it later when you have a moment, okay? But so what we want to do is we want to find a space that is nice and calm and relaxing for ourselves, right? If you have the space to lay on the floor, I suggest doing it. You might want to have a pillow or a bolster, something under your neck, but you want to lay with your back flat against the floor, your knees raised, and your feet flat on the floor. It's called semi-supine. And if not, you can absolutely do this sitting in a chair. You want to have your back straight, your chin resting loosely, softly on your chest, your feet flat on the floor, and your hands resting on your knees. If pure quiet is good for you, great. I like to do this with kind of a nature sound background. So I have a little bit of a soundtrack, something to help me visualize my connection to nature. Birdsong is really good, and there's a great channel on iTunes that is nothing but bird songs. So after you've kind of set the mood, right, in your space, want to close your eyes, allow your mind to go dark a little bit, right? And if your mind wanders, it's okay. That's what your mind is supposed to do. When people say, oh, I can't meditate because I can't turn off my mind, it keeps running around, I can't stop thinking. You don't want to stop thinking. Like if your mind stops, that means that you're dead. And then meditation is going to do no good for you. So we really want to give ourselves freedom and forgiveness, right? Because sometimes our mind will wander away. We just have to bring it back, right? And that's part of being mindful and conscious of the meditation practice. So eyes closed, allow ourselves to go as quiet as we can in our minds. And then we want to begin with focusing on each element on its own, right? So we want to think about our connection to the element of air, which is our breathing. So we focus on our breathing. And you can do that by either practicing circular breathing or box breathing. You can simply just allow yourself to breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. You can breathe very deeply, breathing in through the nose, filling up all the way down to the diaphragm and holding for a moment, and then exhaling through the mouth. However you feel comfortable. But we really just want to focus on our connection to that element, air, right? We inhale, we exhale. It's the exchange that is life-giving between us and the natural world. Give yourself about 10 minutes, really just to focus on your breathing, right? And then we go to water. Our connection to water, we want to think of our bodies as being filled with water, right? And how that feels. Think about our emotions, right? Because water is our emotional stability. So that it would be if we're agitated, if we're angry, if we've got a lot of stress, we may feel or see waves and ripples and things in our mind. We can feel that water kind of bubbling and boiling and doing all this stuff, right? And we really want to focus on the water, and we want to focus on bringing that back down, right? Because ideally we want that water to be a nice placid puddle, right? No ripples, no movement, just nice and calm. And for some people, they're never going to get to a completely placid state, but they can focus enough on water, right? The element of water, to kind of visualize and see the peaks and valleys of those waves, the ebb and flow, and have that slow down and become a little more calm. Then we have fire. The element of fire is our core energy. It's that, what they call the fire in our gut. If you're thinking about your chakras, it's the solar plexus chakra. It's where the heat for our body is generated. Our metabolism, if you will. And so we really want to focus on feeling that heat kind of spreading throughout our body, where that energy goes to. We may even want to visualize the heat emanating out from our bodies, and we're giving that heat back into our environment. Conversely, if it's a hot day and you really don't want to feel like focusing on the heat that's in your body, you can also focus just on the heat that's outside of your body, the heat of the sun. Then we have the final element, which is earth. And that's where we want to focus on gravity. Really, it's our connection to the earth. We want to, if you're laying semi-supine, we want to really focus on that feeling of the ground coming up to meet our backs and our backs pressing into the ground. We want to feel the weight of our hands against the ground, of the floor, our feet. And if you're sitting in a chair, you can do the same thing. It's about feeling where your feet meet the floor, where your feet are connecting, and just feeling that solid foundation beneath you, right? It's a very different feeling if you're laying on a mat, or if you're not on something solid, because you will actually focus on the feeling of there's a little bit of a give there, right? And what we really want to focus on is the solidness, that groundedness. And after you've gone through each four elements, right, individually, give yourself about 10 minutes for each one. Then you just kind of go back to focusing on your space, right? The space that you own, right? All of those elements coming together, and that being your connection to the rest of the planet, right? To the natural world. And really think about your connection, how your relationship with the natural world works, what that looks like. If there's something you feel that you could do more, or if there's something that maybe you feel like you've been doing something really, really bad, and you want to stop doing that, or you want to change that, or, does it inspire you to, volunteer with a local conservation group? Does it inspire stewardship? And that is elemental meditation. An elemental sound bath is where we use either singing bowls, which are metal or crystal, that are tuned to the chakra frequencies. We mix that with those nature sounds, that kind of soundtrack. So it's a multimedia kind of experience where we do bits of elemental meditation with the traditional kind of sound bath frequencies, for a really calming but energizing experience. So thank you so much for listening this week. As always, there are 3 opportunities each week for new content from the Truth Be Told family of podcasts. Tony Sweet on Friday with the original Truth Be Told, Bonnie Burkert on Wednesdays with Truth Be Told Transformation, and of course Mondays, Truth Be Told About Going Wild with me. And all of those are at the same time, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 Eastern. And if you have any questions, comments, please feel free to reach out. You can contact me through the website. Again, that's www.rhnaturereconnect.com. Again, that's rhnaturereconnectaltogether.com. And until next time.